Hello, I'm taking on a challenge to beat every playable Nintendo published game. Welcome to the next episode. The next game is Monkey Magic. I'm sure if I asked you to think of an iconic monkey from Nintendo's arcade era, you would probably think of Donkey Kong. However, turns out Donkey Kong wasn't the first time Nintendo used a monkey as the villain of a video game. 2 years before the release of Donkey Kong, Nintendo released Monkey Magic, exclusively in Japan. While this game is technically another Breakout clone, instead of breaking blocks, you're facing off against a giant monkey head. Why we're facing off against this giant monkey head? I have no idea. The Japanese flyer describes the game as a comical and fun game, so I don't think you're supposed to take it very seriously. I started the game with no idea what the objective was. Similar to Breakout, you control a paddle and are trying to hit a ball and reflect it towards the monkey. There were blocks with arrows on them labeled from 1 to 3. Each time I hit one of these arrows, they moved closer to the monkey. Unfortunately, on my first run, I never got to see what happens when an arrow makes it all the way to the monkey. When you lose, the monkey laughs at you. What a little punk. When I played Color TV game Block Breaker, I was controlling the paddle with an analog knob, and the original arcade machine for Monkey Magic used one too. Unfortunately, since I wasn't playing on the original machine, I was using the arrow keys on my keyboard to move left and right. This made it much more difficult to control since the buttons on my keyboard are digital, and I was stuck with a single speed. This caused me a lot of problems, and I died pretty quickly due to this. It wasn't until later that I found an alternative solution. The second run went a lot better. It turns out you only need to get one of the arrow blocks to reach the monkey. The point of the different arrows was that the arrows with higher numbers would earn you more points. Anyway, when the arrow reached the monkey, his eyes X'd out and his mouth opened. It kind of looked like he was defeated, but it turns out I had only just begun. You see, this game plays out like a multi-phase boss fight of sorts. The arrow block phase was only phase 1, and in the next phase, the objective was to knock out all of his teeth. I had quite a bit of trouble getting through this phase. I got a lot of game overs here, and every single time I had to sit through the humiliation of the monkey laughing at me for failing. Around here, I started playing around with the paddle sensitivity in hopes of improving the paddle controls. This helped out some, but I felt like I always had to either sacrifice accuracy or speed. Finally, after many attempts, I knocked out all the teeth, and phase 2 was complete. Things got a little more hectic for phase 3. Suddenly, a line of people appeared, and they slowly started to leave the screen. It never happened to me, but if they all left before the phase ended, you would lose a life. The objective here was to get the ball to pass over each tile on the monkey's face and change the color to green. If you hit the nose, your ball momentarily slows down. This effect didn't last too long, but it was nice if it happened on the way down since it made the ball much easier to hit. There was one more mechanic in this stage. Hitting the eyes changed it between X's and circles. If both eyes became a circle, a safety net would appear that would help the ball stay in the face longer and hit more tiles. This phase took me even longer, and I had to redo all the previous phases every time I got a game over. The paddle speed issue became even worse since the ball started moving much faster during this phase. Finally, after many attempts, I finished phase 3. Surely this was the last phase, right? Wrong. It turns out the monkey's primary source of power is his hat. And despite losing his teeth and bruising up his face, the final phase had you facing off against, you guessed it, his hat. Interestingly, this phase is the most like the original Breakout. His hat is made up of a bunch of blocks, and each block you destroy reflects the ball back. The nose and eye mechanics are still active here too. Finally, during this phase, I got fed up with the controls and did some investigation on what kind of alternatives there were. I found out that I could use my mouse to control the paddle, and this made it much easier to control since I can move it at whatever speed I wanted. This doesn't perfectly emulate the feel of an analog knob, but it was much better than using the arrow keys. While this change didn't make it completely free, it only took me 3 more attempts to destroy the entire hat and complete phase 4. With that, the boss was complete. Right? More or less, yes, I was done. The final phase was complete. After finishing the final phase, the monkey restarts back to phase 1 in typical high-score chaser fashion. However, new obstacles have been added. I didn't make it much further, but I was content with finishing one loop. With that, the game was complete. This one's a little weird review, since I wasn't really able to accurately replicate the controls of the original game. Regardless, I overall thought the game was just okay. The actual gameplay wasn't all that interesting, and the random rates at which the ball changed speed was often frustrating. That being said, I did like the theme of the game, and facing off against a giant monkey head was pretty funny. It's kind of interesting to see the objective evolve as the game progresses, and I'm not sure how common this was at the time. There's some fun aspects thematically, but the gameplay wasn't interesting enough to give the game lasting appeal. In the end, I gave the game a 5 out of 10.
As the day came monkey out of me. That little monkey made a monkey out of me. Oh, monkey with the monkey, don't monkey with the monkey, don't monkey with the monkey. That little monkey made a monkey out of me.
Thanks for watching the video. If you want to see more of these in the future, make sure you subscribe to the channel so that you won't miss out on the next one. And also leave a like if you enjoyed it, since it'll help the channel grow and motivate me to continue the series. I hope I'll see you in the next step of my quest to beat every Nintendo game.